What if the most important decision of your day was made before the sun even rises? Think about that. Before anyone texts you, before you check the news, before the world starts spinning with noise and pressure, your victory or your failure is already being shaped in those quiet early moments. That's where the battle is. Not at noon, not during your meetings, not when challenges show up. The battle begins when your alarm goes off, and you have to choose. Most people don't realize they're losing the day before it even begins. They don't see the impact of rolling over and hitting snooze. But that one choice, it echoes. It sets a tone. It tells your mind that comfort is more important than commitment, that delay is acceptable, that your goals can wait. But here's the truth, your goals won't wait. Your dream won't wait. Your future is waiting for you to show up now, not later. Not when you feel ready. Not when it's easy. Because winning the morning isn't about being a morning person. It's not about waking up at 5 a.m. just to follow a trend. It's about deciding who you are before the rest of the world tells you who to be. The morning is where discipline is born. In the silence. In the darkness. When the bed feels warm and the air feels cold. That's where greatness is shaped, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, when no one is watching and it's just you versus you. That's the part most people run from. That quiet war between who you are and who you could become. But you don't have to run from it anymore, because inside of you there's a version that wants more. Not just comfort. Not just survival. Excellence. Progress. Fire. The version of you that wakes up hungry not for food, but for life, for purpose, for the chance to go one step further than yesterday. That version doesn't beg for permission. It doesn't wait for motivation. It chooses to rise even when it's tired, especially when it's tired. Because here's the thing, every morning is a doorway. You either walk through it with power, or you stay on the sidelines, hoping today will somehow be different from yesterday without doing anything different. And that's not how champions live. Champions create their day. They don't stumble into it. They don't let circumstances decide their mindset. They set the tone. They take ownership of the first moments because they know that's where the edge is. That's where momentum is created. That's where mindset is built. You want success? You want change? It starts before breakfast. It starts in the split second when you hear that alarm and every part of you wants to quit, wants to pull the covers over your head, wants to wait just 5 more minutes. That's your testing ground. That's your opportunity. That's the moment you prove to yourself that you are serious, not just interested, committed. And when you win that moment, you send a message not just to your body, but to your mind, your habits, your soul. You say, I'm in charge now, not my feelings, not my fears. Me. Do that consistently, and something shifts inside you. Confidence grows. Focus sharpens. Suddenly, you're not reacting to the day, you're leading it. And people will feel it. They won't know what changed, but they'll see it in how you move, how you speak, how you show up. You'll walk into rooms differently. You'll carry a quiet intensity, because deep down you'll know you earned this, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. So don't underestimate the morning. Don't overlook the first choice you make each day. It's not small. It's not routine. It's everything. Because if you win the morning, you win clarity. You win momentum. You win yourself. And when you own yourself, nothing outside of you can control your day. Stick with this. Keep listening. Keep showing up. Because the reward isn't just a more productive day. It's a more powerful life. One where you lead. One where you grow. One where you don't just survive your days, you own them. This isn't about waking up early. This is about waking up on purpose. When you begin your day with power, something inside you wakes up that's been asleep for too long. It's not just about getting out of bed, it's about getting into alignment with who you were meant to be. Because how you start is how you live. The way you show up in the first minutes of your day echoes into every hour that follows. That energy you create, it multiplies. It feeds your focus. It sharpens your mind. It lights a fire that won't go out just because the day throws challenges your way. That's why your mornings matter more than you think. The world wants you to believe that success is built in the big moments. The job interview, the performance, the deal. But the truth, success is born in the moments nobody sees. When you wake up early and decide to be intentional. When you breathe, move, reflect, speak life into your mind before the world has a chance to speak doubt. That's where real power is created. Quiet power, lasting power. Science backs it up. Studies show your brain is in a highly programmable state just after waking. Your subconscious is wide open, ready to receive commands, to absorb whatever you feed it. So the question is, what are you feeding it? Stress, distraction, social media, or strength, clarity, purpose? Because what you do in that first hour isn't just a routine, it's a message. It's telling your brain what to focus on, what to believe, what to expect. If you begin your day scattered, overwhelmed, pulled in 10 different directions, don't be surprised when your entire day reflects that same chaos. But if you begin it with stillness, with action, with vision, your day transforms, not because the world changes, but because you do. There's a reason the most effective people in the world guard their mornings like gold. They understand the power of that window. They don't let the noise in too soon. They set their mind before the world can set it for them. They choose what thoughts to think, what energy to carry, what pace to set. They lead themselves first thing so they can lead everything else. And you can too. You don't need a fancy routine. You don't need a list of 20 steps. You need intention. You need to stop treating your mornings like throwaway time. You need to recognize that every single morning you're either building momentum or giving it away. It's easy to ignore the impact of the first hour when life gets busy, when the schedule is full, when your mind feels heavy. But that's exactly when you need it most, because the chaos of the world is not going to slow down for you. You have to slow down for you. You have to take back control in a world that's always trying to steal it. And that starts the moment you wake up. So protect your mornings. Don't reach for your phone. Reach for your purpose. Don't flood your mind with noise. Fill it with clarity. Take a breath. Move your body. Speak words that build you up. Visualize where you're going. Anchor yourself in what matters. Do the things that put you back in the driver's seat. Because if you don't own your mind, someone else will. You deserve to lead your life, not just react to it. You deserve mornings that remind you of your strength, not mornings that drain it. But it won't happen by accident.
You have to choose it.
Every single day. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially then. Because those are the mornings that build the strongest version of you. The mornings when your body is tired, but your spirit says, go anyway. The mornings when your mind wants comfort, but your purpose demands growth. Those are the days that separate average from unstoppable. The world may never know how many mornings you conquered in silence. How many times you rose before the world did. How often you chose discipline over ease. But you will know. And that knowing,
That quiet confidence?
it's unshakable. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. So keep showing up. Keep choosing to rise. Not just from your bed, but from doubt, from fear, from every version of you that once settled for less. Every morning is a chance to rise again, higher, stronger, clearer. And if you claim those moments with everything you've got, you don't just win the morning. You own the day. You lead your life. You step into the person you were born to be. Ready for the next section? When you rise with purpose, something shifts not just in your schedule, but in your identity. You stop being a person who reacts to life and start becoming someone who directs it. The morning becomes more than a time slot. It becomes a mirror, a reflection of your standards, a reflection of what you expect from yourself. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you tolerate, and what you tolerate in the morning sets the ceiling for your entire day. Every time you choose discipline over delay, you're training your mind to believe in your own power. Every time you speak life over your goals instead of feeding doubt, you're building unshakable belief. This is not about perfection, it's about repetition. One intentional morning after another, one decision at a time. Because success doesn't arrive in a moment. It grows from patterns, from habits, from the things you choose to repeat when no one's watching. And this is why the morning is your most critical opportunity. Before the world has a say, before your job demands your energy, before the distractions creep in, you get to declare who you are. You get to write the script for your day instead of reading one written by circumstance. That is power. That is freedom. But most people never step into that power. They start their day chasing instead of creating. They start in a fog, hoping for clarity to come later. But clarity isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build. You sit with yourself. You ask the hard questions. You listen. You speak truth. And when your mind starts to wander, when fear tries to hijack your thoughts, you pull it back. You remind it who's in control. Because your mind is a tool. It can work for you or against you. And the way you train it each morning determines which one it becomes. This is why silence matters. This is why stillness is so powerful. It's in that quiet space that you can hear the truth, your truth, the goals that matter, the vision that drives you, the values that keep you grounded. When you start your day with intention, you don't just think differently, you move differently. You speak with more purpose. You carry a different energy. You stop living in reaction and start living with direction. And that direction doesn't come from noise. It comes from alignment, from tuning in instead of tuning out. That's what most people miss. They think they need more information, more advice, more outside motivation. But what they really need is to listen to themselves, to shut out the distractions long enough to remember what they truly want. Because your future isn't hiding from you, it's waiting for you to slow down, reconnect, and decide to show up like it matters. Because it does. There is power in choosing who you will be before the day begins, before life tests your patience, before problems arise, before doubt creeps in. When you decide in advance, you don't get pushed around by your emotions. You lead them. You lead your state, your choices, your energy. And when you start leading yourself, the world begins to respond differently. Doors open. People notice. Opportunities find you not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. This is the reward most people miss when they overlook the morning. They think it's just about being productive. But this isn't about checking boxes. This is about building the version of you that doesn't quit, that doesn't get thrown off by pressure, that doesn't wait to feel ready. This is about becoming the person who shows up every day with courage, with clarity, with commitment. And that doesn't just happen. That is built in the early hours, in the quiet choices, in the way you prepare your mind before the world has a chance to shape it for you. Because if you don't shape your thoughts, your environment will. And let's be honest, the world isn't trying to make you stronger. It's trying to make you distracted, comfortable, small. So you have a choice every single morning. You can be owned by the day, or you can own it. You can let your environment control you, or you can control what you allow in. You can scroll, or you can speak. You can drift, or you can decide. And that decision again and again is where transformation begins. No more waiting for motivation. No more hoping things will change. You are the change. Your routine is your proof. And your mornings, they are your foundation. Treat them like they matter because your entire life is being built on them.
One choice.
One morning, one mindset at a time. Keep rising. Keep leading. Keep becoming the version of you that doesn't break under pressure because they built themselves in the silence, in the fire, in the morning. Every time you choose to rise early and lead your morning with intention, you're sending a message to the world and to yourself that you are no longer available for the excuses that held you back. You're not just chasing a goal anymore. You're stepping into a new identity, one that refuses to be ruled by fear, by comfort, by the opinions of others. That version of you, it isn't born in one breakthrough moment. It's carved out in the consistency of your choices, especially when those choices are hard. It's easy to show up when things are going right, when you feel motivated, when the plan is working. But the mornings that truly matter are the ones when nothing feels right, when doubt whispers louder than your dream, when your body is tired and your mind is tempted by excuses. That's when your future is on the line. That's when you decide what story you're going to live. Because every single morning you are writing a page in your story. And the question is, are you writing a story of excuses or a story of ownership? Are you telling the world that your circumstances define you? Or are you showing the world that you define your response? That power is yours. Not in some distant future, not once you hit your goals. Now, in this moment, in the way you take command of your mind before the world tries to fill it with noise, in the way you stop waiting for clarity to magically appear and start generating it with every action you take. You don't need more time. You need more intensity with the time you already have. You need to decide that the window between waking up and engaging with the world is sacred. That it's not a space for distraction. It's a space for direction, for fire, for fuel, for forward movement. Let everyone else sleep through their potential. Let them scroll their mornings away. That's not who you are. You've got something to build, something to chase. And if you don't fight for it, who will? That's the difference between dreamers and doers. Dreamers wait. Doers wake up. They understand that you don't get to rise to the top by accident. You climb there. One disciplined morning at a time. One focused breath. One intentional step. The rest of the world might not understand it. They might question your pace, your silence, your obsession with structure. But that's only because they haven't seen the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this commitment. That life is closer than you think. It's not waiting at the end of the year. It's waiting at the end of your comfort zone, at the edge of your current standards. And the fastest way to reach it is to elevate what you allow in your mornings. Raise your standards before the world tries to lower them. Raise your mindset before the pressure of the day attempts to shake it. Your goals require a version of you that doesn't negotiate with excuses. A version of you that doesn't need to feel inspired every day because they built systems stronger than their feelings. And that system starts with the first choice of the day. Do you rise with purpose, or do you give in to patterns that keep you stuck? You already know the answer. Deep down, you've always known. That's why you feel the pull to become more. That's why mediocrity never sits right with you. Because you weren't built for average. You were built to rise. Built to lead. Built to become something rare. But rare isn't found, it's forged. In discomfort. In sacrifice. In the quiet decisions no one sees. And that's why this matters so much. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because every time you show up when it's hard, you're becoming harder to break. Every time you lean into the morning with drive instead of drifting into it with distraction, you're proving to yourself that you are capable of mastering your life. Not surviving it, mastering it. This is where momentum is built. This is where belief is born. Not in the wins, but in the work, in the way you teach yourself to act on commitment instead of feelings. That's when everything changes, not just what you do, but how you see yourself. And once your self-image shifts, the world around you follows. You don't need perfect mornings. You need powerful ones, consistent ones, mornings where you rise before your excuses. Mornings where your actions speak so loudly, you don't even have to explain your goals anymore. People just feel them when you walk into the room. So keep showing up. Keep choosing growth. Keep setting the tone before the world has a chance to decide it for you. Because when you win your morning, you don't just get a better day, you get a better life. And that life, it begins the second you open your eyes and remember who you are. There's a reason your greatest breakthroughs are still waiting on the other side of your mornings. Because that's where your discipline is tested. Not by the world, but by you. No cameras, no praise, no noise. Just a battle between who you've been and who you are becoming. And make no mistake, every morning, that battle is real. The choice to rise with purpose or to roll over into patterns that keep you small. And it's not about motivation. It's about identity. Because once you decide you're the kind of person who shows up regardless of how you feel, you unlock a level of power most people will never touch. Most people think they need more motivation to change their life. But what they really need is more consistency, more ownership, more honesty. They need to stop chasing inspiration and start becoming the kind of person who creates it. Because it's not the loud, dramatic moments that define you, it's the small, unseen ones. The choice to speak life over your goals when no one's listening. The decision to move forward when your mind is screaming to wait. That's where champions are built. That's where your next level is born. And your morning is the one part of the day you can control completely if you're bold enough to claim it. No one else decides how you show up in those first minutes. No one else determines what you feed your mind, what you feed your body, what you choose to believe. That power is in your hands. The only question is, will you use it? Or will you give it away? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. You just have to decide that your future is worth more than your comfort. That your potential is worth more than hitting snooze. That your goals deserve more than the leftovers of your attention. You weren't put here to coast. You weren't put here to survive the day. You were built to own it. To move through it with fire, with control, with intensity. And that begins the second your feet hit the floor. Not when it's convenient, not when everything's going your way, but when it's hard, when it's dark, when the only voice telling you to rise is your own. Because that voice, that's the one that shapes your destiny. That's the voice you need to strengthen every single day. You want confidence? Earn it in the morning. You want discipline? Build it before the world wakes up. You want to become unstoppable? Start by becoming consistent. That's how you separate yourself from the pack. That's how you break free from the loop of almost and maybes. You show up early. You show up focused. You show up ready to put in the work nobody sees, so you can live the life nobody else gets. Every time you conquer the morning, you are rewriting your identity. You are becoming someone your future can count on. Someone who doesn't crumble under pressure. Someone who doesn't back down from resistance. Because the strength you build in the morning isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And that strength shows up in the hardest moments of your day. When things go sideways, you won't break. Because you already beat the hardest part, your own doubt. Most people will never know what that feels like. They'll never know the power of waking up early and owning their space before the world demands it. They'll never know what it's like to command their morning, to shape their energy, to lead their own mind. But you're different. You feel that pull, that pressure to become more, that inner fire that won't let you settle. That's not weakness. That's calling. That's purpose. That's your next level knocking on the door. And it's not asking for permission. It's waiting for a decision. Are you ready to keep rising even when it's hard? Are you willing to lead yourself before you leave the day? Are you bold enough to act like your dream is already yours? Because it can be. But only if you do the work in the shadows. Only if you stop waiting for the perfect time and start becoming the person who no longer needs it. You don't need permission. You don't need a sign. You just need to decide right now that you will no longer start your day with hesitation. You'll start it with conviction, with clarity, with power. That's how you win. That's how you lead. That's how you transform. Not later, not someday. Now, in the silence, in the darkness, in the quiet moments when your habits either push you forward or pull you back. And when you choose to rise day after day, no matter what, everything changes. Because you're not just winning the morning. You're building a foundation no failure can shake. You're becoming the person who doesn't wait for the world to hand them a reason to succeed. You create it. One decision, one breath, one morning at a time. The most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate the power of a single morning, because that's where your momentum is born. That's where your identity is shaped. That's where you decide if today will move you closer to your purpose or pull you deeper into distraction. And every day you delay that decision, every time you choose comfort over progress, you reinforce a pattern that becomes harder to break. Your future is watching how you handle today. And if you don't start demanding more from your mornings, you'll keep settling for less in your life. You have to understand something. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. When you rise early, when you push through resistance, when you do the hard things without needing to be told it's not restriction, that's power. That's freedom. Because every disciplined action is a vote for the person you're becoming. And the more you cast those votes, the more unshakable you become. That's what you're really building in the morning, an identity that doesn't depend on circumstances to show up strong. You don't rise early to impress the world. You rise early to impress yourself. You rise to take back control. You rise to remind your mind that you run the show now. You rise because you know that time is your most valuable currency, and the earlier you take hold of it, the more leverage you have over your life. Because if you don't dominate the morning will dominate you. And that ripple continues into your mood, into your focus, into the way you respond to every challenge that comes your way. But when you own the morning, you don't just win the day, you shape the narrative. You stop chasing peace and start creating it. You stop waiting for clarity and start producing it. You don't sit around hoping that today will feel different, you make it different. With intention, with purpose, with fire. And here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you from the consequences of a lazy morning. No one is going to fix your mindset, your energy, your habits. That's your job. The minute you realize that, you stop waiting for change and you start becoming the cause of it. You stop asking for the perfect conditions and start realizing that discipline creates those conditions. Because discipline is not about what you're giving up. It's about what you're building. You're building a mindset that doesn't need external approval to take action. You're building habits that don't collapse when life gets tough. You're building a foundation so solid that nothing can shake your sense of direction. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to get honest. Honest about the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And then you need to close that gap with action, with repetition, with ruthless consistency. The kind of consistency that doesn't bend when your mood shifts. The kind that doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. That's what makes you dangerous. Not talent, not luck. Consistency. Because talent without discipline is wasted. Potential without effort is meaningless. But effort, day after day, especially when it's hard, that's how empires are built. That's how lives are transformed. That's how legacies are created quietly, patiently, one strong morning at a time. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, you'll have to fight off doubt, fatigue, distraction. But what's the alternative? Living every day wishing you had started sooner. Looking back a year from now with regret instead of pride. You weren't meant to live like that. You weren't built to play small. You felt it in your gut for years that pulled a rise. That voice inside that keeps telling you that there's more. That you're capable of more. That you were made for more. Stop ignoring that voice. It's not lying to you. It's not a fantasy. It's your truth. But it won't become real until you start showing up for it. Until your actions speak louder than your doubt. Until your discipline becomes louder than your distractions. Until your mornings become sacred. That's how you lead yourself out of the cycle. That's how you break free from mediocrity. You rise when it's hard. You rise when no one else is. You rise because you know that who you are when no one's watching is exactly who you will be when everything is on the line. So rise. Rise with intention. Rise with conviction. Rise not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because this is the edge that separates the ones who almost did from the ones who actually do. You're not here to almost win. You're here to dominate, to lead, to inspire. And it all begins the second you decide your mornings are not negotiable. The second you make that decision, you stop hoping for progress and you become progress. You stop reacting to life and you start commanding it. This is the moment. This is your time. No more waiting, no more sleeping on your potential. Rise with power. Win the morning. Win your life. You don't need another perfect plan. You need to master one moment. The moment you wake up. That's where your real power begins. That's where your future starts taking shape, not in some distant dream, but in the decision you make as your eyes open. You can keep chasing motivation, or you can create momentum. You can keep waiting to feel ready, or you can realize readiness is a lie. Winners don't wait to feel like it. They move anyway. They rise anyway. They commit anyway. Because they know the results aren't given to the most inspired, they're given to the most consistent. You become dangerous the second you stop arguing for your limitations. When you stop making excuses for why today can't be different. When you stop letting your past decide your present. Every time you wake up and tell yourself just 5 more minutes, what you're really saying is, I'm okay with staying average. But the minute you flip that switch, the moment you take control of your first thoughts, your first actions, your first hour, everything starts changing. Because you've shifted from being reactive to being intentional. From waiting to leading. The mind loves routine. It clings to whatever you repeat. Feed it doubt. It will give you hesitation. Feed it excuses. It will give you limitations. But feed it discipline. Feed it drive. Feed it movement and structure and challenge. It starts to transform. It starts to believe you're serious. And once your mind is convinced, the world doesn't stand a chance. But that change starts with one choice, one morning, one moment of refusing to let comfort win again. The most successful people in the world don't have more time than you. They've just learned to own the first part of their day so the rest doesn't own them. They protect their mornings like gold because they understand that those minutes are sacred. That silence is where confidence is built. That space is where strength is developed. No distractions, no noise, just intention. Just purpose. Just you versus you. You're not here to live the same day 90 times and call it growth. You're here to rise with new energy, new clarity, new courage. And that begins with how you show up when no one's watching. That begins with the questions you ask yourself before the sun is even up.
Who do I want to become today?
What am I willing to do to meet that version of me? What am I done tolerating for myself? Most people avoid those questions. They're too busy trying to outrun their reflection. But if you want to rise above, if you want to own your life, you have to face yourself first thing in the morning. No filters, no distractions, just you and the raw truth. And that truth is simple. The version of you that wins already exists. But you've got to fight to meet them. Not once, not sometimes, every single day. And yes, it will be hard. But hard is not a reason to stop. Hard is a signal you're doing something worth doing. Every moment of resistance you face in the morning is proof that your comfort zone is being threatened. That's good. That's growth. That's your old self trying to hold on while your new self breaks through. And if you can push through that battle even for a few minutes, you'll be amazed at how your confidence begins to rebuild. Because nothing builds belief like action. Nothing transforms your mindset like momentum. Start small if you need to, but start strong. Own the first 5 minutes. Then the first 15, then the first hour. Stack those wins. Stack them until your habits become automatic, until your body moves before your doubts even have a chance to speak, until showing up becomes your new normal. That's the goal. To wake up one day and realize the person you've been chasing is now the person you are. You weren't given this life to blend in. You weren't wired for average. That fire inside you, the one that refuses to be quiet, it's trying to remind you of who you are. It's calling you to rise. And the morning is your proving ground. That's where that fire is either fed or forgotten. That's where momentum is born or broken. That's where the standard for your entire day is set. So raise it. Raise the standard. Raise your energy. Raise your expectations. Stop waking up like your life is something to survive. Wake up like it's something to lead. Because it is. You get to lead this life. You get to shape it, shift it, rebuild it starting now. You get to be the one who refuses to waste another day sleepwalking through your own potential. And the greatest part? You don't need permission. You just need a decision. One decision to stop tolerating the version of you that delays, doubts, and disconnects. One decision to show up even when you don't feel like it. One decision to make your mornings a non-negotiable. That's how you win. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you become everything you were meant to be. Not later. Not when it's easy. Now, this morning, this breath, this choice. You were not born with limits. You were conditioned to accept them. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that early mornings were a burden. That struggle should be avoided. That excellence is reserved for a chosen few. But none of that is true. The truth is, your power has always been within reach. It's not hidden. It's not locked away. It's waiting at the edge of your comfort zone right there, in the discipline you resist, in the choices you postpone, in the mornings you keep giving away. But the moment you take it back, the moment you stop negotiating with laziness and start showing up like your future depends on it, everything begins to shift. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be committed. Committed to rising while the world sleeps. Committed to acting even when your body says no. Committed to silencing every excuse with bold execution. That's how transformation begins. Not in one grand gesture, but in small intentional steps repeated without fail. Over time, those steps become your edge. Your clarity sharpens. Your confidence hardens. And soon, what once felt impossible becomes instinct. The greatest threat to your potential isn't failure, it's hesitation. It's the pause you take before committing. It's the comfort of waiting until everything feels right. But waiting kills dreams. It keeps you trapped in cycles you were born to break. So don't wait to be inspired. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for motivation to knock on your door. Get up. Get after it. Do what needs to be done, because the price of not showing up is far greater than the discomfort of discipline. There's a reason your dreams feel distant, not because they're unreachable, but because you've been avoiding the process that leads to them. You can't skip the struggle and expect the strength. You can't run from the grind and expect greatness. You earn it, one decision at a time, one morning at a time. And every time you rise early, every time you start the day with purpose, you cast a vote for the person who refuses to settle, for the warrior inside of you who's been silenced too long. Most people think success is found in the spotlight, but it's not. It's found in the silence when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when it's just you and your will to rise. That's where real winners are made. Not on the stage, but in the shadow. Not in the outcome, but in the unseen effort. You win by doing the things others won't. You win by dominating the hours they ignore. You win by owning the parts of your life that don't need applause. If you want to be different, you have to move different. You have to think different. You have to wake up and ask yourself, am I living today like someone who deserves what I'm asking for? Because that's what this is about, alignment. Your actions must match your ambition. You say you want to level up. Then stop living like you're average. Stop treating your mornings like they don't matter. Start realizing that how you do anything is how you do everything. Your first hour sets the tone for every battle you'll face. That's when you sharpen your mind. That's when you remind your body who's in control. That's when you build the resilience to handle everything that tries to throw you off course. If you don't train your focus, the world will steal it. If you don't own your energy, the noise will drain it. And if you don't define your mission each morning, life will define it for you. This is your opportunity. Right now, to rise while others snooze through their purpose, to decide that enough is enough, to say yes to your potential and no to your excuses. And that decision doesn't require talent, it doesn't require luck, it just requires you. You showing up, you refusing to let old habits write your future. You proving that greatness isn't something you wait for, it's something you wake up for. You're not just waking up early, you're waking up to your power, you're waking up to your calling. You're waking up to the fact that every day is a gift. And how you use it determines what you get out of life. You're not here to exist. You're here to expand, to stretch, to grow into the person you were created to be. And that version of you, they don't hit snooze. They don't scroll aimlessly. They rise, they act, they lead, because they know that every single morning is a vote for strength or weakness, for growth or stagnation, for progress or regret. So decide. Decide to rise. Decide to fight. Decide to lead your life instead of watching it pass by. Because the truth is, it's not the morning that changes you. It's what you do with it. And if you can conquer the first battle of the day, there is no force strong enough to keep you from conquering the rest. Make that choice. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. This is your moment. This is your edge. And it all starts the second you open your eyes and remember who you are. The greatest mistake you can make is thinking that the world owes you something. That success will just come to you if you wait long enough. But that's not how it works. The world doesn't owe you anything. What it does give you every single day is a choice to get up and step into your power, a choice to either face the discomfort of growth or surrender to the ease of complacency. And make no mistake, complacency will never bring you closer to the life you deserve. Complacency is the killer of dreams. It keeps you comfortable in the familiar and trapped in the mediocre. But if you can push past that comfort, if you can embrace the discomfort of getting up early and building the life you want, that's when things begin to change. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. You have everything you need to succeed. The only question is, will you decide to use it? Because it's not your circumstances that define you. It's not your past, your setbacks, or your failures. It's how you choose to show up, day in and day out, that determines your future. Every morning is a fresh opportunity, a fresh shot at greatness. And the best part, you don't need to wait for the perfect conditions. You don't need to wait for things to line up perfectly. All you need is the willingness to act now, the courage to take control of your morning, the strength to rise above your excuses and start taking steps in the direction of your dreams. The most successful people didn't get there by waiting for the stars to align. They got there by doing the work that no one else wanted to do, by rising when others were still asleep, by getting up and putting in the effort before anyone else even thought about starting their day. And it's not magic, it's not luck, it's consistency. It's the decision to start every day with purpose, with focus, with passion.
That's the difference.
And if you want to be among the few who actually make their dreams a reality, you need to realize that this is where it all begins. It begins with your first step out of bed. It begins with your first action of the day. The power of morning routines is undeniable. But it's not about following some perfect checklist. It's not about getting up at 5 a.m. or following someone else's idea of success. It's about understanding that how you start your day dictates how you finish it. That the energy you bring in the first moments after you wake up will carry you through every challenge you face, every distraction you encounter, and every obstacle you need to overcome. The energy you start with determines the energy you finish with. So why not start with the energy of a champion? Why not start with the energy of someone who believes that today will be the day they make it happen? You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need to wait for inspiration.